Hello everyone, good to see you all. Did you enjoy last week's songs? Have you been practicing the songs? How many songs did we sing? Do you remember? Tell your parents. How many were there? 4. We sang 4 songs. Did you know those 4 songs? I enjoyed singing those songs. I haven't got the best voice in the world, you know that. But at least they were okay. And they had a good rhythm to it. And they were about Jesus, which is good. But now we're going to do new stories. Last time we did for many weeks Jesus. How amazing and awesome and great Jesus is and what he did. But now we're going to go back into the Old Testament and we're going to be looking at, and I'm not going to tell you, you got to work it out. But he starts off as a little baby, a little boy, and he grows up to serve God. So we're going to look at this story now. It's from the book of Exodus. So if you've got a Bible, we're going to start at the start of Exodus, and we're going to see this little baby's journey. So let's get started, yes? Okay. Now, the book starts in a place called Egypt. Egypt's a country. And in Egypt, that's where the Israelites were at this time. Now, I might call them Israelites or Hebrews. It's the same thing. Okay? So, the Israelites or the Hebrews were in Egypt. And this is the Pharaoh of Egypt. And he wasn't happy. Why are these Israelites in Egypt? Why don't they go to their own country? What are they doing here? So he had a look around and you can see all those tents and he's thinking, there's too many Israelites in my country. I'm worried. If these guys get so numerous and then form an army, maybe they're going to fight against Pharaoh's army. So he was scared. He was like, I don't like all these Israelites growing and growing. They started small and in hundreds, then thousands, now millions. Wow. So he speaks to his authorities and he says, you know what? Make these guys slaves. Get all the Israelites and make them slaves and work them really, really, really hard. Maybe they'll die out. That's what his thought was. So what does he do? He works them hard, whipping them. I've got a whip here. Now, I've used this whip before. Now this whip hurts. Let's give it a go. That was just one whip. They got lots of whips like that all the time. And I had a jumper on. He doesn't even have a jumper. Imagine, work hard. And this is how they'll treat it. Have a look at them. They had to build big cities. They didn't get the Egyptians to build these big cities. They said, no, you Israelites build it. And they built cities like Ramses and Python. And they kept making them work so hard. And you could see it wasn't good for them. They were like slaves. And I don't know what you know about slaves, but you have to do exactly what they say. Now, I've got this thing I want to show you. This is a ball and chain. So sometimes slaves, this thing would go around their ankles, and this is only plastic, but this would be very, very heavy metal, like you couldn't even lift it, and they would put the people in one of these, and that would mean if they try and run, they couldn't because it was too heavy. So they had to wear one of these so they wouldn't escape. Imagine walking around with a really heavy ball attached to your ankle. No good. So that's how they treated the Israelites. And they hoped that they would just die out. But if you have a look, yay, they're all happy. They're increasing. They're not upset. They didn't die out. Pharaoh made them work even harder. He goes, that's it. Work them hard. Keep working them all day. Work, 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 work. Then you're going to see what's happened next. These are midwives. Midwives take care of babies. And as you can see, they kept having babies. They kept having babies and growing and growing and growing. And Pharaoh then called these midwives in. He said, bring the midwives. They look after the kids and they look after mothers as well when they've just had babies. And he said to them, whenever a new baby boy is born from an Israelite, you have to kill it. Can you believe it? Pharaoh is so angry now that these babies have to die. No more. If it's a boy, die. Are you thinking, why boy? Why not girl? Well, back then, armies, the military, the fighting people were all men. They weren't women. These days we have women fighting in the armies and in the police and things like that. But back then they didn't. The women would just stay home. So if they killed off all the little babies or the little boys, then they wouldn't grow up and start to, maybe fight against Pharaoh. So he was very scared, Pharaoh, and he says, nah, don't want these Israelites growing anymore. I don't want any more boys. And he tells these women, if you see a boy being born, kill the boy. Do you think they did that? No, look, she's holding a little boy and they're all happy. And they're like, nah, we are not going to listen to Pharaoh, we're going to listen to God. Because God says every single life is important. Is that true? Is your life important? Is my life important? Every human being on this earth is created by God, and therefore God creates life and God takes it away. You may know someone old that's died. They just die because they get old. You do not take someone's life away. You do not kill a baby or a human or anybody. And these women knew God's rules. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. So Pharaoh got even more upset. We see in the next one. He then said, okay, this is going to be the new rule from now on for everyone. Any boy that's born, I don't care who they are, any Israelite boy has to be thrown into the river. Can you believe that? Has to be killed, thrown into the river, and that was made a law, and if you don't do that, you're in big trouble. Unfortunately, right at that time, just as when Pharaoh made this rule, a new Israelite baby was born. Do you know who this baby is? Who's this baby? If you don't know, you're going to have to keep listening. Now, if this baby's born and he's an Israelite baby, what's going to happen to him? He's going to be thrown into the river, into the Nile River. And what are they going to do? They don't want their baby thrown into the river. So what does she try and do? Well, she tries to hide the little baby for 3 months because the guards are looking everywhere for baby boys, searching the houses. Do you have a boy? Do you have a boy? Let me search. I heard a baby crying. Oh, and this baby, you can't tell a baby to stop crying, and they can't hide him anymore. So what do you reckon she does? She can't hide this baby anymore. He's going to be found. She's desperate. What does she do? She makes a basket out of papyrus leaves. And then at the bottom, she puts tar. That's this black stuff, like the stuff you see on the road what the cars drive on. And why do you think she put that tar at the bottom? Because if she just put that basket in the water, it would sink. So this tar would go at the bottom and would stop all the holes so the water wouldn't go through, so this basket would float. Now, why is she making a basket that needs to float? Let me do what Ravi does. Why does she do that? Do you really think she's going to put the baby in there and just put it in the water? Yes! She grabs the baby, puts it in the basket, so that's the mum, and that is the little boy's sister, and that her name is Miriam. And she's like, I'm going to watch over this little boy. I'm going to watch over my brother to make sure he's going to be okay. So, he's put inside the water by the little boy's mum, and Miriam, the sister, is watching because it's going to go down and down, because once you put something in the water, then the tide carries it somewhere. But she wasn't sure what was going to happen, but Miriam had to make sure. So she starts watching this basket and watching and watching. Who's that? Do you know the story? That's the Pharaoh's daughter. Pharaoh is the one who wants to kill all the baby boys, Israelite baby boys, but then she sees the basket and is excited and she grabs a little baby and is like, look at this cute little Israelite. She knew it was an Israelite baby. Look how cute this Hebrew Israelite baby is. Oh, where did it come from? I want to keep it. She was so excited. And who was watching? Miriam. She's over there. And she comes and she goes, I know whose baby this is. I know. And then she suggests something very smart. She said to Pharaoh's daughter, she said, babies are, they cry a lot and they need a lot of help. How about we call the mother, the real mother of the baby, let the mother look after the baby for just a few years, and then you can have him back. And guess what? She said, I like that idea. So that's the mother. And so Pharaoh's daughter gives the baby back to the mother. And she says, you take care of him. And then later on, when the boy grows up, the real mother is going to give it to Pharaoh's daughter. And what do you think Pharaoh's daughter calls this little boy? What do you think? Jesus? Is that Jesus? No. Is that Noah? Is that Elijah? Is that Abraham? Who could it be? That's Moses. Have you ever heard of Moses? That's little Moses. Because Moses, the word Moses means to be taken out of the water. And Pharaoh's daughter found him in the water to withdraw him from the water. And she goes, I'm going to call him Moses. So did you see God's plan to save little Moses? If he would have stayed at her house, they would have got little Moses, found him and killed him in the river. But God looked after Moses in the water, drifted to Pharaoh's daughter, and now she's going to take care of him. Moses' mum looked after him for a little bit, but now she's giving him over to be Pharaoh's daughter. To Pharaoh's daughter's son. And he's going to grow up and be very special and do some very great things. This is all part of God's plan. So did you like the story today? Come back next week because the story is going to continue. This little boy Moses is going to grow up. And this little boy Moses is going to do great things for God. He's going to do amazing things. He's going to show us how great God is with miraculous things that God's going to do. So I hope I see you next week. I hope you're doing well and have a good day and definitely come back next week. All right. See you later. Bye.